Welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report, episode 467. All right, a little distracted there. I hit the button just a tad too soon, but welcome to the JP8 report. Man, I took a chance with Rumble a while ago, and so what was I saw this headline come out on the New York Times. New York Times. No, never. New York Post. Okay. It just dropped at 8:33 a.m. Eastern, which is 7:33 our time. I saw it come across my computer. I'm like, I just published my Rumble, and I'm like, oh man, because it says Trump threatens to rename Lake Ontario as Lake America. And I took a chance and went over to my account, my content, and it allowed me to change the name of the episode. So y'all see it, Lake America. Well, this one doesn't say Lake America. Huh, what happened there? Okay, hold on just a second here. I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to refresh. It's going back and forth. I don't know. Okay, so we'll do it like this. I'll go back and rename it later on if I have to. Okay, so yeah, so President Trump and man, that's why I put in the live chat. Just wow, MAGA all the way, because this is, you want to talk about what's his name, Doug Ford. He's the premier of Ontario or something like that. Because they have like we have states, they have provinces, but they don't have governors, they have premiers or something like that. Okay, which is about the same thing. So I'm gonna go through this real quick. This is awesome. All right, so President Trump. Oh, before I get to this, hey, if you're not already a follower of the JP8 report, hit that bell, go down and click the word follow, and give me a thumbs up, okay? For the episode. This is cool. All right, so and then give me an American flag in the chat, because this is cool. President Trump floated the possibility of rebranding Lake Ontario as Lake America. In a shot across the bow against Canada's most populous province, whose premier threatened to cut off electricity and minerals to the United States. The United States is giving serious consideration to changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America, in that we don't expect doing much business with Ontario any longer, Trump declared this morning. He did that on Truth Social. And if I would have known it was on True Social, I would have put it up so we could see it on the screen. On his very first day back in Oval Office last year, Trump signed an executive order to rename the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, a move frequently boasted about during his first year. His musing about giving Lake Ontario, which borders upstate New York, the same treatment comes amid a bruising tariff battle with America's northern neighbor. Last week, talks broke down between the two sides. That prompted Trump to impose a steep 50% tariff on a range of Canadian goods, including beer, cheese, electronics, and more. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney has vowed to retaliate in kind, while Ontario Premier, like I said, they're not governors, they're premiers, Doug Ford, who has long been a hardliner on trade, teased plans to make U.S. Feel economic pain. Ford vowed to the Associated Press Everything is on the table. If the trade spat worsens, including cutting off electricity and critical minerals from Ontario, we power 1.5 million homes and businesses, the premier said. Everything's on the table. I'll do whatever it takes. One of issues Carney's claim caused a breakdown in the talks at the 11th hour last week, as purported demands that China make changes demanding Quebec use English instead of French. Trump denied that on Monday. I would never interfere with the Canadians speaking French, Trump insisted. In fact, I've never thought of doing such a stupid thing. This lie is made up by a weak, ineffective prime minister in an attempt to gain political support, which he has totally lost from the people of Quebec. I love French Canadians. I'm telling you, that's a stupid move on the Canadians. You know, if you compare apples to oranges of what Canada supplies to the United States and what we supply to Canada, I would rather be in the shoes of the Iranians and the Canadians, because without the United States, Canada would disappear. They would not be able to support themselves. I mean, yeah, out in the West, they got the a burgeoning petroleum industry, but on the eastern part, if you look at the habitable part of Canada and what they export, they don't have the means to support themselves. They're pretty much a welfare state. And the fact that Trump is is rubbing it in really hard, like when you put salt in a wound, it stings really, really bad. The fact that he said, let's rename Ontario or Lake Ontario Lake America, oh my goodness, that's gotta sting. Uh, the fact is, the Ford family, they're not related to Henry Ford. They just got the same last name. Him and his brother are been involved in politics for decades in Ontario, right? One was the mayor of Toronto, the other is the governor or the premier of Ontario. But it's just a political machine, and the fact is, when he says we supply power to 1.5 million homes inside the United States, that's a problem we have. We should not have that problem. We should be self-sufficient and not to be dependent on any other government outside the borders of the United States. The fact is, Ontario is supplying 1.5 million homes with electricity would be the equivalent of roughly 4 million people, which is about 1% of our population, with electricity. That tells you that we don't have enough power in the United States. There is three main power grids in the United States. We have the Texas grid, and then we have two others that coordinate within the United States, right? And I guess we buy some electricity from New York, from Ontario to supply New York in that area, right? But that's why Texas is independent. We are self-sufficient on our power grid, and we will not integrate our power grid into the United States. Matter of fact, we need more power in Texas as it is, right? But yeah, this, oh my goodness, I saw that and I about jumped out of my chair because I was just finishing cleaning up after eating breakfast, because at 8:45, in about 35 minutes, I've got to sign off of this, and then I got another ballot draw I'm going to at 8:45, for this time for CCISD, Coppers Cove Independent School District. They have 6 candidates running for 3 different positions, and only it's one of the 6 candidates is even an incumbent. Everybody else is fresh candidates. One is a retread because she got unelected a couple years ago, and then one is taking her second attempt at running, and I think that's all. And then we have Jeff Gorez. He's an incumbent. That's why I got this shirt on right here, because Quality Learning Center. Even though we have a pretty good education system here in Copper Cove, as it is, but I thought I would let y'all know about this deal about Lake America. Uh, Boy, man, if he actually makes that change, I would love to take a trip up to New York just to go fishing in Lake America. That would be pretty cool. Because we have Lake Ontario, we have Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Lake Erie, right? And Lake George and Lake Huron, okay? I can't believe I actually named all the Great Lakes, right? And fixing to be no longer Lake Ontario, but Lake America, which is pretty cool. All right, so where are we at? I already gave the welcome. Please give me a like for that little monologue I just gave / breaking news for here. Oh my goodness, that was something else. America 250 moment. Since we're talking about British, Canadian, and that kind of thing, this year, this day in 1776, almost missed it by 100 years, British land 4,000 additional Hessian soldiers on the Long Island. The day is the 25th of August. The Battle of Long Island starts day after tomorrow. It would be a Tuesday in 1776. So that means there's 30,000 British soldiers on the ground in Long Island and 4,000 Hessian soldiers on the ground in on Long Island in New York. And then I have a letter. You know what? I don't know if I have time to read this because I'm going to run right out of time here. It's from General Washington to Major General Israel Putman. It is with no small degree of concern I perceived yesterday a scattering, unmeaning, and wasteful fire from our people at the enemy, a kind of fire that intended to disgrace our own men as soldiers and to render our own defense contemptible in the eyes of the enemy. No one good consequence can come out of irregularities, but several bad ones will inevitably follow on it. Had it not been for this unsoldierlike and disorderly practice, we have the greatest reason imaginable to believe the numbers of deserters that have left the enemy's army last year, but fear prevented them from approaching our lines then, must forever continue to operate in like manner, whilst every soldier. Hold on, breaking news. Oh, I broke that news. It's just the news with breaking news about Lake America from Lake Ontario. All right, so forever operating lines often and must forever continue to operate in a like manner, whilst every soldier conceives himself at liberty to fire when he pleases. This is not only one of the greatest evil resulting from the practice, for as we do not know the hour of the enemy's approach to our lines, but have every reason to apprehend that it will be sudden and violent whenever attempted. We shall have our own men so scattered and more probable without ammunition that the consequences must prove fatal to us. Besides, this is where we will no possibly be distinguishing between the real and false alarm. I must therefore, sir, in earnest terms, desire you to call the colonels and commanding officers of corps without loss of time before you, and let them afterwards do the same by their respective officers, and charge them in express and positive terms to stop these irregularities, and that they value the good of the service, their own honor, and the safety of the army which under God depends wholly upon the order and the government that is observed in it. At the same time, I would have you form a proper line of defense around your encampment and works on the most advantageous grounds. Your guards, which compose this, are to be particularly instructed in their own duty, and a brigadier of the day to remain constantly upon the lines, that he may be on the spot to command, to see that orders are executed. Field officers should be appointed to go the rounds and report the situation of the guards. No person to be allowed to pass beyond the guards without special orders in writing. By restraining the loose, disorderly, and unsoldierlike firing before mentioned, I do not mean to discourage partisan and scouting parties. On the contrary, I wish to see a spirit of this sort prevailing under proper regulation, and officers either commissioned or non-commissioned in the cases shall require to be directed by yourself or licensed by the brigadier of the day upon the spot to be sent on this service. Such skirmishing may be effected in this manner will be agreeable to the parties of propriety, and may attend with salutary effects, inasmuch as it will inure the troops to fatigue and danger, will harass the enemy, may take prisoners, and prevent the parties from getting the horses and the cattle from the interior parts of the island, which are objects of infinite importance to us, especially the last two, because you got to eat, okay? All men not on duty are to be compelled to remain in or near their respective camps or quarters, that they may turn out at a moment's warning. Nothing being more probable than the enemy will allow enough time to prepare for an attack. The officers also are to exert themselves to the utmost and prevent every kind of abuse to private property, or to bring every offender to the punishment he deserves. Shameful it is to find that those men who have come hither in defense of the rights of mankind should turn invaders of it by destroying the substance of their friends. The burning of houses where the apparent good of the service is not promoted by it, the pillaging of them at all times and upon all occasions, is to be discountenanced and punished by the utmost severity. In short, it is to be hoped that men who have property of their own and regard for the rights of others will shudder at the thought of rendering any man's situation to those protection he has come more insufferable than his own open and avowed enemy would make it. And by duty and every rule of humanity, they ought to aid and not oppress the distressed in their habitations. The distinction between a well-regulated army and a mob is good order and discipline, and the first and licentious and disorderly behavior of the latter. Men, therefore, who are not employed as mere hirelings, but have stepped forth in defense of everything that is dear and valuable, not only to themselves but to posterity, should take uncommon pains to conduct themselves with uncommon propriety and good order, as honor and reputation call loudly upon them for it. The wood next red hooks shall be attended well to. Put some of the most disorderly riflemen into it. The militia and most indifferent troops, those, which are at least tutored and seen least service, will do the interior works, whilst your best men should be at all hazards prevent the enemies passing the wood and approaching your works. The woods should be secured by batteries when necessary to make the enemy's approach as difficult as possible. Traps and ambushes should be laid for the parties if they are if if you find they are sent after the cattle given under my hand at headquarters this day, the 25th day of August 1776, George Washington. You know what? That is the sound of a commanding general. And the fact that he mentions non-commissioned officers, that is an excellent letter. Thank you all for letting me read that. That was excellent. All right, and that was from George Washington to Israel Putnam, from general to major general. All right. Okay, so carry on. Here we go. The armament shop. Whether you're looking for your first firearm, upgrading your setup, or need expert service, Jason at the armament shop is Copper's Cove's premier source for all things shooting. Browse our wide selection of pistols, rifles, and shotguns, backed by top-tier gunsmithing for repairs, along with reloading supplies and professional cleaning to keep your firearm in peak condition. Need a transfer? We make FFL transfers fast, easy, and affordable. Need your CHL? Jason can handle those classes. He has over 3 decades of experience. Visit the armament shop today at 115A West Avenue D in Coppers Cove, or call or text 254-560-2023, or visit www.armamentshop.com. That's www.armamentshop.com. The Armament Shop, your safety, our priority. There we go. Hold on just a second here. Wow, it went back. Wow, wonder why I did that. Okay, never mind. The Iran update. Here we go. New sanctions target 5 main Iranian areas: digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, and shipping. It also affects people doing business with Iran, that if they get caught engaging with commerce with Iran under these 5 areas, they will be held to the same standard as Iran is. That was put out yesterday afternoon by Scott Bessent, the Secretary Treasurer. There was another vessel attacked near Oman yesterday afternoon, and there was a report of another one attacked this morning. Iran is dismissing all these sanctions. The Secretary of War says the U.S. is not ruling out resuming military action for our protection. There have been 71 vessels redirected due to the U.S. blockade. 3 have been disabled, and another 2 were boarded. The Houthis attacked a Saudi Arabian vessel in the Red Sea, and Syria is no longer on the list of terror sponsors by the U.S. All right, the Dow Jones yesterday settled in at 53,417.16. It was up 140 plus 15, and it opens up in 6 minutes. So those numbers will definitely change. West Texas Intermediate is trading at $81.83 a barrel. And then Brent crude oil is trading at $89.05 a barrel. So those prices are down from earlier this morning when I prepped for the morning brief. So the oil is going down somewhat. All right. So my announcements, I'm going to go through these pretty quick since I only got 20 more minutes on air. So first one, Pints in Politics, Gatesville at Ranchers on the corner at 84 and 36. That's this coming Thursday, 6 p.m. And your facilitator is Chip Howe. All right, next one is The Republican Party, Coryell County Republican Party, is having a Patriot Range Day at the Holly Gun Range this coming Saturday, the 29th, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's $20 per person, a fire you want. If you run out of ammo, the armament shop will be on site to sell you more ammo. Also, we're going to have a small Republican Party meeting at the same time at noon. Next, on the 31st of August, at Papa's Cafe in Harker Heights at 6 p.m., we have the West Side Conservative Coalition. They meet at 6 p.m. The facilitator and the chair is Dennis Faulkner. Excuse me. Okay, next is Pints and Politics. Again, on the 3rd of September, this time in Belton at the Dead Fish Grill. Chip Howe is the facilitator for that one. And our next announcement is the Coppers Cove Conservative Club, 4Cs. Our September social will be September 8th, 6 p.m. at Giovanni's, and the goal is to have as many city council and school board people there as possible to give their elevator speech. 5-minute. Hey, who I am, who, what, when, where, and then answer questions from the crowd. And the last announcement is for the 26th of September, Coryell County Republican Party. We're having our annual fish fry at the Texas Station Event Center. Tickets are $35 each, or $50 for $60 for a couple. That's a $35 each or $60 for a couple. That's right. And then we have two keynote speakers. The first one is Pete Flores, Senator from SD24. And then we have Chairwoman of the Republican Party of Texas, Duranda Randall. She's going to be speaking also. All right. So that's all of our announcements and Iranian update and all kinds of other stuff. All right. So yesterday, I do not know what's going on with. It should have changed the name on this thing. Sometimes Rumble can do crazy things. I'm gonna try it one more time. Hold on, just give me a second here. And then refresh. The change didn't take. Wow. I'll change it back later. All right. So in a 6-3 decision yesterday, in an unwritten unsigned 6-3 decision yesterday, the Supreme Court handed the Trump administration a huge victory, allowing it to enforce President Trump's election integrity executive order restricting mail-in balloting before November's midterms. Now, if you read the New York Times, the failing New York Times, what it said, in a split decision, the Supreme Court, there's no split decision on a split decision is 5-4. 6-3 is a decision, a decisive decision. Not a unanimous, but a decisive one. So the High Court lifted an injunction that blocked the order in 23 states that challenged it after the administration appealed it in July. The Postal Service and the Justice Department said they would immediately implement the revised mail-in ballot restriction after the ruling. And most immediately, the ruling clears the path for the U.S. Postal Service to check its distribution of mail-in ballots against the list of citizens maintained by the Department of Homeland Security, but it is also significant political victory for the Trump administration that it has advocated against widespread use of mail-in voting, citing what it believes is a heightened vulnerability of tampering and voter fraud. Most recently, Trump slammed what he called a suspiciously high volume of mail-in ballots for Cynthia Roman in 2026 mayoral race priorities. And he said, they don't have voting booths. Everything's by mail. I don't think a Republican can win in the state of California unless you pass the Save America Act. That's true. They're going to try to get rid of all. They're going to try to get rid of mail-in voting. I think that's a bad quote. So this requires the Social Security Administration to provide to the federal government the list of Social Security account holders and where they reside at the time. And you may say, well, what if you are a minor and have a Social Security card? Well, you're not a voter. So chances are that when you are 18 years old, you're going to have a driver's license, which you have to supply the Social Security number for. You've been to the doctor, you've graduated, you're going to college, or you have a job. The government knows where you live, and those numbers will be produced by the Secret Service, Social Security SS, right, to the Postal Service, so they know who is a U.S. citizen and lives at that address, so that there is not a mail-in ballot delivered to that address. Now, because we know there's no telling who has control of that mail-in ballot, right? So what if Joe Schmo gets it and Jane whatever lives here and she gets his ballot and mails it in? If they're not checking it, it's going to count, right? This is what we're trying to prevent. Now, I'll put it to you like this. If you don't like those changes to the mail-in ballots, and you are like me and you can walk around, you can run sometimes or wobble, and you do this stuff, and you don't like the changes that is coming across for mail-in ballots, get in your car and drive down the road and go vote. Instead of crying, moaning, groaning, complaining about the whole thing, just go vote in person. It won't hurt at all. We have this. It's got to be easier to make that so we get more people. No, when you make it easier, people take advantage of it. And this is, if you want to go vote, just go vote. Get in your car, go down the street, and vote. I mean, everybody else in the world does it, right? So now we need so if we take care of this, we still need to take care of photo ID, and we need to take care of voter ID. Oh, proof of citizenship. So show up at the driver's license with a birth certificate, and they'll put it on file. That's easy. That's simple. All right. But so, and then the post office said they can have all these changes implemented before the midterms, because they've probably been ramping up for it, getting it ready to go. So when the decision was made, they were already ready to implement. All right, hold on just a second here. 8:34. I got 11 minutes. If you live in South Carolina, go vote. I mean, let me rewind. Hard set. Wait a minute, I'm live. What am I doing? If you live in South Carolina and you're Republican, go vote. Go vote for Darlene Graham. I don't know how her name is on the ballot. Is it Darlene Graham or is it Darlene Nordone? But go vote for. Don't vote for Ralph Norman. Ralph Norman, while he is a conservative Republican, He's 73 years old. He's like uh, 12 years her elder, right? He's been in Congress 2017. Um, he may know where the bodies are buried at. I don't know. He might know. Uh, but yeah, Ralph Norman is, I consider, too old. He's part of the establishment in Congress. Uh, I mean, I heard some. She may not be the astute political person out there. The President trusts her. I mean, he wrote this endorsement for her. It is my honor to welcome now Senator Darlene Graham Nordon, uh, the sister of the late great Lindsey Graham, from the wonderful state of South Carolina into the Oval Office. We have known each other for a long time. She's a spectacular person and a true American patriot. Lindsey was one of the greatest people and senators I've known. His sister shares his deep love for our country and the state of South Carolina. During her visit, I asked Darlene, for the good of the nation, to run for the U.S. Senate in the special Republican primary today, um, which is the runoff, right? She accepted, and there's nobody better to honor the legacy of her beloved brother. So Darlene, who comes from an absolutely incredible family, has been a winner all her life and has my complete and total endorsement in the special election for the U.S. Senate in South Carolina. Get out the vote. Get out and vote for Darlene. She will never let you down. My president, uh, President Donald J. Trump, my president. All right. So that is what we're looking at, right? The stark difference. We have Darlene Graham and we have Ralph Norman. And both of them, this is from AP, okay? And earlier this morning when I was reading this, it said South Carolina Republicans are returning to the polls for the fourth time since June. Oh, I had the fourth time since June. You had your primary, then you had your runoff. We had another primary 2 weeks ago, and then we have the runoff. That's 4 times. That'll tend to start burning people out to coming back and vote. Um, on Okay, Lindsey Graham um, won the primary on June 9th, and he died July 11th, right? And then Darlene Graham was appointed by Lieutenant Governor McMaster. She finished first place on the August 11th special primary. She had 33%, and Norman had 25%. She basically told Harmon to go home and mature out. Graham swept the counties across South Carolina. Okay. All right. So, as I was saying, South Carolina, get out there and vote for Darlene Graham. And in Oklahoma, you have a runoff for governor and one of the congressional races. So if you're in Oklahoma, you're not skating off that easy. You need to go back out to the polls and finish your election, okay? What are we looking like on time? It's already 8:39. Oh my goodness, man. Oh, and you know what? I forgot something. Hold on. I don't want to say it while I'm doing this. Don't forget to click that like button and give me a follow, okay? Okay. Wow, it's right there. How many times has Al Green tried to impeach President Trump? Okay, let's see. December 17, he filed against the president. Um, December 18th, early 19th, he brought up privilege motions. July 19th, he forced a floor vote. That's 3 now, right? Second term. So he's at, because we were talking about this in the first podcast. 7 times Al Green has threatened to impeach President Trump. Instead of doing his job as a congressman, he'd rather sit there and, yeah, I had the paperwork here. So instead of sitting there and doing his job as a congressman, where he get paid $176,000 a year, he just wants to shake his cane and condemn the president without providing any type of solutions there. So 7 times he's threatened to impeach the president. Next, in Alaska. Alaska's got a dirty race going on. We have Mary Patola, the Democrat, and then we have Dan S. Sullivan, the senator, and then we have Dan S. Sullivan, whoever, right? The reason why there's 2 Dan S. Sullivans is because the Democrats talked this guy, Dan Sullivan, into running for a senator as a Republican, so they could siphon off votes for the real uh, Dan Sullivan. So the fake Dan Sullivan, well, his name was Dan J. Sullivan, and then he changed his name on the ballot to reflect Dan S. Sullivan. So you had the real senator, and then you had the fake, right? Um, But the way it turned out on the primary, the fake Dan Sullivan got 2.5% of the vote, and the real Dan Sullivan got a whole slew of votes and stuff, right? But one other thing happened at the same time is there's another Dan Sullivan in Alaska politics. We're like, no way. How is that even possible? The Republican governor, the Republican mayor of Anchorage, I believe it's Anchorage, his name is Dan A. Sullivan, yesterday endorsed the real Dan Sullivan. How many Al Greens and how many of Al Green's bills have passed? Not a whole lot. That is exactly true. Man, I don't have the time. I got 2 minutes left. Quickly, Scott, if you can, Scott, please do a quick Google search. How many bills has Al Green sponsored and passed in Congress? Do that real quick, okay? And then chat it over so we can see it. All right, if you don't mind. How many bills has Al Green sponsored and passed in Congress? All right, because that'd be interesting to know. I bet you can show less than two hands, less than 10 times, and my guess would be 8 total. Okay, 6. That is a worthless Texan right there because he's from Houston, right? Al Green is a worthless piece of garbage that said he represented the black people of his state. Now, look, before you go off on a tangent, he's been in Congress for a while, right? So all of Barack Obama, all of Joe Biden, and probably most of Bill Clinton's terms in Congress, right? And he has only passed 6 bills. What? Oh, is his eight? I think 18th congressional district. Is it a welfare district for a person to fill that slot? That is stupid. We should get a refund on the money that we paid uh, Al Green to be in Congress. 6 out of 372. Really, really. And he's supposed to be a legitimate congressman. I think not. And I think he's been in Congress uh, about 25 years. I bet, oh, maybe more, maybe 30 years. He's been in Congress quite a while. Oh my goodness. Wow. 6 out of 372. Wow. That means people do not take him serious at all. Seriously. Wow. Thanks a lot, Luke, for that information also. All right. Okay. Look at the weight. Oh my goodness. Hey, Scott, if you get to head up to Lake America, let me know. Because I want some pictures showing a sign that says Lake America. All right. But I got to go. I got to get up for this ballot draw. Oh, you know what? You know what? Screw it. We won't do a raid. Go over and watch Dan Bongino 9 o'clock. I'm sure his is going to be really good today. All right. Thank y'all too for chiming in and helping me out with the podcast. I really appreciate it. Okay. I will catch y'all tomorrow. Thank y'all for helping me out and tuning in. And this is James Pierce with the JP8 report. I will catch you on the flip side. Hopefully, I don't see Al Green. I'm out.